everyone, we're watching a video from dumbjake over here, who seems to be dumb as ever, as he says. Anyway, it's about Transformers toys, and I have our local Transformers expert here.
I will eat them.
Eat what? The Transformers?
Yes.
Why?
I pick my teeth with your Fortress Maximus.
Ew. That's weird and gross. Don't do that. Anyway. Let's see where this goes, alright?
The Transformers brand may be the top dog when it comes to toys that switch between two forms, but there have been many products over the years that have taken the idea and added
I'm glad there's more ones.
Spin to it. What's good?
Yeah, funny enough, I looked up the alligator one for the Beast Box. It's unavailable. I just want the alligator one because I like him. He looks
I've
cool.
never really looked into Beast Box because Robot to Cube appeals to me about as much as Robot to Rock.
Well, they've also...
And I realized the Rock Lords are the easy target. They've always been the easy target. They're the fucking Rock Lords, but still.
But yeah, funny enough, the transformations are actually really well done, and the beasts look really well. Also, they also have another line called... I don't think it's called Beast Formers, but it's Beast something. It's basically animals that transform into vehicles.
I see.
Yeah, that might get your interest.
I think that was called Dice.
Jake here,
oh
dumb as ever, and in today's video we'll be discussing several toy lines.
We really need another Transformers game like this for multiplayer where you can transform and untransform.
Yeah.
I mean,
fuck, just give me Fall of Cybertron multiplayer again.
It was a fun idea, quite literally. If you could make somehow, if you could make, like, let's say a planet-side Transformers game with this, do you know how much money you would be printing money at that point?
Yeah.
Quite literally. Information gimmicks that are
greatest strength is still the story, but
yeah, imagine a giant planet-side fortress just plopping down, and now you have control of the area.
From the Transformers brand. This is actually my third video on the subject, and it's the series that really launched my channel in the first place. So if you haven't watched those, be sure to check out my Transformers playlist. Before we get started, please consider liking and subscribing. We're super close to 28,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
I like Fall of Cybertron more than War because, like, look at this footage, and just you can tell what age of video games it was made in because everything's so goddamn dark and desaturated.
Yeah, I just remember, but sir, that's suicide. Bang. Anyone else have any objections? But I actually do like War.
I need to pick up some Decepticon Trooper toys.
I actually do like War more than Fall, mostly due to the fact of the designs look crisper, and also we get the Combaticons and everyone.
Considering we've been battling algae rhythm for
you mean Fall, because that's the one you just described.
I meant Fall. Anyway.
There's so many iconic toy lines that are still around to this day, like the Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Masters of the Universe. But what about the toys that didn't make as big of a splash in pop culture? One of these toy lines was called Mask, which stands for Mobile Armored
Mask
Strike
still comes
Command.
back.
Every once in a while, not nearly as much though as the other three.
Created in 1985 by
they basically
the late
folded into G.I. Joe.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, no, Matt Tracker got a couple of G.I. Joe figures. And that indicate that Mask is now a subdivision of the Joes, and Venom is a subdivision of Cobra, which I imagine just like, so do we need to rebrand? No, you guys fit right in.
So,
like, holy shit, your name's just perfect. We're keeping it.
So it's basically what happened similar with the GoBots.
Yeah. Except also, Hasbro never really does anything interesting with the GoBots. There's exactly... They'll reuse the 6 e-hobby GoBots, which are just G1 characters done up in prototype color schemes and given the names of GoBots and retconned into those GoBots.
Yeah, the main problem...
Who they actually look nothing like.
The main problem I have somewhat is when they just...
And Crasher.
I was about to say, the main problem I have was something when they just absorb things and don't do anything with them. It's like when Marvel or DC just absorbs a smaller comic series or, running stuff.
I mean, IDW did a GoBots comic that was incredibly off the walls and feels like... It was trying to be Jack Kirby and in 2000 and Planet of the Apes at the same time, while completely reinventing the concept of GoBots. And also implying that it's the origin of the Transformers multiverse.
Okay, but as I was gonna say, like, there's You remember the Ultra Force, that thing I showed you?
Yes.
Those got bought up by Marvel, and eventually they got killed and then retcon out of the universe. So why even have
Cowards!
them? So why even have them? What's the point?
Die. I'm glad the Blue Beetle and Shazam get treated well by DC, at least.
I'm glad.
Like their Charleston acquisitions are actually fairly well cared for.
I'm glad at least Static Shock gets well cared for, even if he doesn't get much of a
Static
spotlight.
Shock is still a thing.
Yes. Usually every once in a while, DC will...
Check who they got from. Oh, yeah, no. Fucking Peacemaker was a Charleston Comics character. Blue Beetle. I think Plastic Man.
Huh. But yeah, as I was about to say, yeah, Virgil unfortunately doesn't get a lot anymore, but Static Shock is still around, kinda. Like, he exists, but, not as much. Like, every once in a while he'll be in a new show or something. Like, he was in Young Justice, but not nearly as much as you think.
Captain Atom, too.
Huh. Also...
I mean, no, DC fucking loves their Charleston acquisition, so there's that at least.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't do the same from what I've seen with their acquisitions. Anyway, we should probably move forward.
Toy
You need to
company
react to the
Kenner,
GoBots at some
Mask
point.
consisted of
Maybe.
2-inch action figures that would pilot vehicles that could change form. For example, the main hero of Mask, Matt Tracker, had a vehicle called Thunderhawk that could morph from
tried to
a
buy a
Marrow
Thunderhawk.
into
They're
a
so
gull-winged
pricey.
fighter
Well, of course
jet.
they are.
Going against Team Mask was Venom, which stands for
Also,
Vicious
Mask is
Evil
one of those-
Network of Mayhem. They
Really vicious, evil network of mayhem.
Led by Miles Mayhem. Yeah.
This feels like a parody.
Yeah, no, IDW Mask was one of those comics that critics loved it, the readers not so much.
It's always the problem is...
And then it got folded into Scarlet Strike Force, and then the writer of that pissed off the G.I. Joe fandom.
People really need to stop pissing off their fans. It's become a trend nowadays.
I think that's the reason was, the Joe fan, well, quite a few people in the Joe fan were outspoken about a cover, which I haven't really seen. Like, they were arguing, okay, yeah, we get it, this is for transgender inclusivity, but it's also just not done very well. And the writer was like, well, that's because you're a bunch of right-wing bigots.
That's the same argument everyone uses for anything, is just, you don't want to have a good conversation, so you just use that.
Suffice to say, Scarlet Strike Force did not make it to its final issue. I've tried to buy some MASH toys. The hard part is you can't get the entire team without spending a pretty penny because the female member, Gloria Baker, did not get a toy until the last wave called Split Seconds, which was barely distributed, and everyone wants a fucking Gloria Baker.
Huh. As you guys know, I'm not nearly into comic as much as he is, so he's going off of the lore.
You picked the right person to join you on this.
That's good to know.
Let's see here. A heavily yellowed stiletto with Gloria Baker. I'm not even sure it's complete, and they want $145 for it. And it's missing one of the Gloria figures because Split Seconds came with 2 figures each.
Anyway, back into this,
really
because
got
we're
to the
barely
point
even
with
a
their
minute
bad guy
in.
name, huh? Each toy came with a removable mask, which gives them special powers. For example, the main villain Miles Mayhem's mask is called Viper, and lets him shoot venom at his foes. Interestingly, it seems the masks and the transforming vehicles are not connected in any way. I always assumed the masks somehow unlocked these vehicle transformations, but as far as I can tell, that doesn't seem to be the case. Mask heads, sound off in the comments, because I'm surprised by that aspect of.
I don't know about the original show. In the IDW comics, yes, the masks hooked up to the vehicles to allow them to be more intuitively controlled, and also the vehicles were made from a vivisected Blitzwing who wasn't allowed to die.
Oh, okay. That's sounds like some Hell on Earth stuff, but you know.
The toy line. Also, masks having special abilities really reminds me of Bionicle. I wonder if Mask was an inspiration at all, or if that's just a coincidence. Mask is a toy line.
Oh, no way.
It's probably a little bit of inspiration, but it's probably just a thought.
No, they're separated by 2 decades.
that's still possible. Like, people don't have inspiration without realizing it. Anyway, this is the person over here who did a whole splurge on the... Honestly, you should just make a video on the Bionicles timeline in the comics.
I should.
And just say, the Bionicles comic books were insane. All capital letters. Anyway,
it makes sense when you
really
read them all.
Interested in for a long time because
good luck reading them all.
Just so fun. I love the transforming vehicles aspect because they went all in on the concept and made some genuinely compelling.
It does look kind of cool.
My favorite mask vehicle is
the
Switchblade, the vehicle of the main villain that changes from a helicopter to a jet. I don't know why, but there's something so cool about that to me. In a lot of ways, Mask combines my love for Transformers and G.I. Joe.
Like,
I think it would do okay in toy markets even today. And I kind of wish Hasbro or whoever owns it would give Mask another shot. I could also totally imagine a live-action Fast and Furious
Hasbro does
Mask
own it,
movie.
huh?
The indie toy company
Ramen
Toys has been making 6-inch versions of some of the Mask vehicles, so if any of this interests you and you don't want to collect vintage, I would check out the Ramen Toys Gull Wing.
Have you looked up that?
Dungeons & Dragons, a game where you can be anyone and do anything,
Pretty
so
much.
long as it doesn't violate one of the Dungeon Master's 50 rules. I actually played D&D quite a bit as a kid. Every Friday after school, my stepdad would take me to his friend's house, and I would play D&D with a bunch of grown-ass adults. I honestly started to dislike the game because it was so slow to play. The arguing about the rules, figuring out how abilities work.
When you're having fun and you know what you're doing, it goes by surprisingly fast, but when you don't know and there's a lot of technical stuff, it goes real slow.
It was just a slog for me, and I got tired of it. I also have crippling anxiety and can't...
oh my god.
Sorry if the timing was too perfect.
Not roleplay without cringing, so...
film in development since like 2017, so that's probably dead.
Probably,
that doesn't help. To my surprise, D&D has exploded in popularity in the last 10 years, thanks to media like Stranger Things and online
There's a lot of
like
reasons.
Critical Role.
Thanks
the
to
franchise
Critical
even
Role.
got a movie, which I thought was pretty good. And with a movie must come merchandise. And since Hasbro literally owns Dungeons & Dragons, we were treated to a slew of new D&D action figures, Nerf guns, and
That's what they're called.
What the heck is a diceling? A diceling is a 20-sided die, also known as a D20 by us dragon heads, that can transform into one of the mythical creatures from the tabletop RPG. I honestly love this idea because it feels like Beast Box with a distinct Hasbro style, and I think they made some bangers with this line. The most reused mold is easily the dragons, which I suppose makes sense given the franchise. The dragons have impressive amounts of
They need to look good though. It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Figures, though because of their transformation, they are mostly shell formers, and there are so many good dragons.
Honestly, if you could use this in an actual game where you say, and now the real fun's begin, and you just roll it out and there's a 20 and it just unfolds for a figure for a dragon.
I dimension the dice!
Kind of. But it would be cool to do that for a DM game.
These are the red one, Thimber Chad, which should be way more of a fat ass according to the movie, but I can forgive him. I respect a Ozempic king when I see one. I'm also a fan of Raykor, the black dragon. I had a black dragon miniature when I was a kid that I loved, so I've always been partial to this guy, but the olive green matched with the black just makes him look so powerful.
Olive green looks good with
black. We don't just have dragons though, we also have the Mimic, a classic monster that pretends to be objects like treasure chests, or in this case a D20. I feel like the shaping of the Mimic does imply it's meant to be a chest mimic like the movie, but it's kind of funny that it turns into an unrelated object. We also have classics like the Owlbear and Displacer Beasts, as well as the iconic Beholder, who is probably one of the best molds in the line. Though the D&D toy line seemed to fail to capture the market, I would consider Dicelings a successful and interesting line, and I hope to see something like them again someday.
For like $20.
Since we're discussing imagination, please join me in the theater of the mind and imagine this if you can. Bakugan, but cars. Yes, Bakugan, but cars, also known as Turning Mech Card by Heathens, is a real toy line, or at least it was. Developed in South Korea by the toy company Sonokong and sold in the US by Mattel, Mech Card is about small model cars, similar to Hot Wheels, that can transform into robots called Mechardimals. Just like Bakugan, there is a game with the goal of rolling your car onto a magnetic card, which would unlock a spring-loaded transformation. I was actually a big big fan of these toys when they came out, and I remember walking to Toys R Us when it was still around and finding them. I only ever purchased 2 because they were kind of a pain to find back then, but my favorite was Mirane.
Yeah, I never saw these though, honestly.
Like, there's reissues of pretty much every Brave toy by Sonic Kong.
Interesting.
From a sporty white car into a unicorn-type robot. The transformations were arguably more satisfying than Bakugan, since the toys would lift up the cards and flip them over, revealing the stats. There are so many good mechard designs, and I feel like any Bakugan fan would have a hard time denying how cool they are, even if the show and toy line is a bit of a ripoff. The South Korean company that made mechard, Sonokong, was also the license holder of Bakugan in that region, so it was pretty clear that mechard is based off of Bakugan, with the key difference being the car modes. Spin Master and Sega Toys, the creators of Bakugan, attempted and failed to sue Sonokong for infringing on their toy patents for Bakugan.
Fuck
and
you,
Spin Master
you
also
don't own cars,
sued
you don't own
Mattel,
magnets.
who was in charge of the US release of mechard. These lawsuits also happened to coincide with the Bakugan reboot in 2019, so Spin Master was probably on the offensive for that reason. I'm not sure how much of these lawsuits affected the toy line, but mechard did not last long in the US, and it seems to have slowed down in South Korea as well. Personally, even though I think mechard is biting Bakugan's style a little too obviously, I mostly think it's lame to sue competition instead of make better products. I kind of hope Mattel gives mechard another shot in the future, because Bakugan has been floundering for a while, and I'm sure there's many toys from the South Korean line that they can still bring over here.
They could.
Hot Wheels is one of the most experimental toy brands,
I've heard about
for better
these.
and for worse. Last video I talked about Robo Wheels and the Attack Pack toys, but many of you let me know that there was actually another transforming Hot Wheels line called Modifighters. While Robo Wheels and Attack Pack were somewhat unique takes on the concept of a transforming car, Modifighters is a true blue
Accelerators was supposed to have transforming cars, or for a proper action figure toy line. That got canned with the rest of the series. But we've seen the patents.
Transformers, and a bad one too, featuring chubby versions of Mustangs, Escalades, and other popular cars at the time that transformed.
I just remember Battle Force 5 being basically... It's basically a Sentai show, but with cars. So basically just a Sentai show.
We wanted to be Acceleracers, but it just wasn't, because it was more arena-based combat.
Yeah. I wanted the cars to fuse together, but we both know what we have.
Both chunky and lanky robots. There were 3 size classes of modifiers,
as far as I know.
They all had the same transformation scheme and looked like clones of each other. The robots also had water squirting and color shifting gimmicks. When a modifier got blasted with water, it would reveal battle damage, which I don't think is an awful idea. The modifiers were based on the idea of street culture, and so the robots often had baseball caps and sneakers to represent how swagged out they were. The most interesting toys in this line to me were the smallest size, called Quick Changers, which were essentially Transformers one-step changers, meaning they could quickly change between 2 modes with the little actual transformation involved. I honestly think these things look terrible. The proportions are weird, and everything from the transformations to the gimmicks,
I think they look better than one-step changers
to each robot, making it basically pointless to collect them. This bad quality reflected in the sales, and these things were
they don't look cool is the problem.
Rip to some real ones. While there have been a ton of Lego clones over the years, I'm not sure any of them come close to the uniqueness of Spin Master's Ionix brand. The main gimmick of the Ionix building system were bricks that could transform, mostly taking the shape of the classic 2.
I swear to God, Tenkai Knights was Creo.
Really? Well, is it?
No, what the fuck was I thinking of then? Because Creo had, like, a Chinese-only toy line with tie-in material.
Well then, let's take a little
2x4 Lego brick. These weird-looking building blocks could transform into people,
armor designs,
animals, weapons,
but then again, I love most Mecha Knight designs, so...
Some of the bigger sets would feature
really
larger
bad for me to hate it.
transformable bricks with the more steps. These pieces served as the base that you would build onto. Like Lego, Ionix featured licensed brands like How to Train Your Dragon, which featured transforming brick dragons and Vikings. They also had the Pokemon license and made sets featuring brick Pikachu
to just be
and Ash.
Chinese tokusatsu, backed up by Creo.
I mean, I dig it.
Ketchum, who looks
he looks
what the fuck is wrong with
brands
him?
faded away. Ionic stayed strong with their flagship brand Tenkai Knights.
But yeah,
Tenkai Knights is an original IP that features robotic knights who fight on a cube-shaped planet, I'm not joking, against a villain named Vilius.
You can make a video game out of this.
The whole turning into bricks thing is vaguely a part of the lore, but doesn't seem to be a super important aspect. I had never really heard of Tenkai Knights before researching for this video, but I can see why a lot of people requested it on my previous videos. The toys themselves are interesting, but the cartoon that was made to advertise them is actually pretty good. The Tenkai Knights cartoon is a run-of-the-mill chosen one story carried by decent voice acting and really good animation. The show is split up between 2D and 3D segments, with the 2D segments taking place on Earth and the 3D being in the Tenkai Knight world. I really like the art style for the 3D parts of the show. Yeah. It reminds me a lot of that show SD Gundam Force.
Yeah,
I was about to say!
Yeah, it kind of does.
Of transforming into blocks.
Funny enough, I have a bunch of little like SD Gundam figures.
Interesting. I can't help but feel it's a little bit pointless. Most of the characters transform, and then they have other pieces like armor added onto them, so transforming back and forth seems like a bit of a chore. I think Beast Box is proof that turning a robot into a cube is fun, but I do feel like Tenkai Knight's transformations are more of an afterthought. One of the most requested toy lines
I was just talking about these
for a series called DICE, which is another acronym that stands for DNA Integrated Cybernetic Enterprises. What does it mean? Hell if I know.
I just realized what we could do for an interesting little series, which is something like this, but we get mecha dino bits involved.
This is a Bandai property and had an anime, a video game, and a toy line. Even though I was definitely alive and watching Cartoon Network when this show was around, I have no memory of it. It's just one of those cartoons that passed me by, even though I'm sure I would have liked it. DICE is about a group of kids that roam the galaxy, helping those in need and stopping crime with the help of their Power Rangers-esque guild suits and their transforming vehicles called Dino Breakers. Led by potentially the most unlikable main character ever, Jet Siegel.
Impossible! Dan Kuso exists!
Why is Dan so bad? What do you have against him?
You want the part where he called an African kid a monkey, or the part where he threw his partner into a river for not agreeing that a fight they lost wasn't a victory?
I don't remember either of those. Well, I remember the last one. I don't remember the first one. I'll be completely honest.
Or the part where we tried to fight a kid. We tried to fistfight a terminally ill child confined to a hospital bed because he thought he was a spy for Masquerade.
Well then, let's just move forward, because what the hell?
Personality trait.
These happened.
Also, I will say, these suit designs though look sick.
I only watched one episode of the anime, and I absolutely hated it. The voice cast is terrible, and the plot of the show is weirdly bureaucratic, the designs aren't a lot of talk about insurance and neutral zones. The show does a couple things right, though. Badass dinosaur designs and some legitimately good action scenes. My favorite character is easily the Phantom Knight, an anti-hero who uses a dino breaker called Knight Rex, which is a race car with hot rod flames that turns into, you guessed it, a T-Rex. Oh, also, when DICE wants their dino breakers to transform, they'll say something like, Motoraptor, libertize. That's right. Oh my god. These things don't transform. They would never. They libertize. Whatever that means.
What the hell does that mean?
If you loved the show as a kid, I'm sorry for making fun of it, but I highly recommend
I like this as a kid. Make fun of it. Make fun of it all you want.
Good. Here's one thing we'll probably agree on, though. The Dino Breaker toys are awesome. Since the show just used CGI versions of the toy models, the toys themselves are completely screen and scale accurate, and you could seat your Dice Knights in them with no issues. Just like the show, my favorite figure is easily Knight.
But
he just has a striking color scheme compared to the other figures, and is quite a bit larger as well. I also like the Dimetrodon and Parasaurolophus Dino Breakers, because I think those are interesting picks over the classic Triceratops or Stegosaurus. And yes, I know Dimetrodon is not technically a dinosaur. Tell that to the DICE designers 20 years ago, man. Sadly, the DICE line did not last that long in America, with the main 5 Dino Breakers and Pilot skidding toys. As a result, collecting these bad boys can be pretty expensive, especially for figures in package. Maybe one day Bandai can reimagine the concept a bit, but they should also change the name.
I'm looking at eBay, by the way.
Terrible SEO. Can't find anything on Dice anywhere without playing DNA, Dino, whatever. For our final entry, I must talk about one of the most absurd transforming toys.
Interesting. I just thought of a series called Dino Knights. I'm gonna save that idea for later and put it in the back of my head.
Toy lines I've ever seen. We're talking about Unit Robo.
Funny enough,
a toy line by Bandai that features two random objects that Dino Fury?
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't the prototype. It was actually a fan-made music video called Dino Knights, but it just became Dino Fury.
Former robot. And when I say random objects, I mean random.
Really?
Apple and a lobster.
What?
Burger and a bulldozer. Truck and a Christmas tree.
What?
These are just a few of the completely absurd combinations this toy line has created.
Look
and
at
while
this.
these combos are absurd and almost feel like a gag gift designed for Transformers fans,
just give this to your kid to explain to them they transform.
Each toy has a connection point, and when clicked together, a spring-loaded transformation happens, with a few manual bits as well to complete the look of each
fucking upgraded.
Once in robot mode, it's actually kind of hard to tell what the two objects that make it up are. For instance, I would never guess the Stegosaur robot is made up of a whale and a UFO. One of the truly insane toys is this Brachiosaurus that is made up of a hot dog and an Anomalocaris, a weird-looking arthropod that is literally extinct. There's also a slight music theme running throughout the line.
Well, obviously,
every
what
toy
do you make your
features
extinct
those
thing out of?
music-level graphic
More
things,
extinct
and
things.
every combined creature has music notes for eyes, which is cute. Overall, I absolutely adore this cursed line of toys, and hopefully they'll become more affordable at some point. While these are cool,
they ever really need to make
sense? $50 per toy is way too much. Well, everyone,
35 to
thanks
50,
for watching.
yeah, no, that's
Please
not worth
like
the
and
money.
subscribe if you haven't already, and consider checking out my other videos. Also, if you want more of me, I have a second channel called Smart Jake, where I talk about Transformers.
But yeah, what I should do for you, honestly, Matt, since you know all of the... You and Kai know all the history for Bionicle.
Listen to me. I shall absorb Kai's knowledge and make it my own.
You can't just eat him and absorb him. Anyway, I do have a good editor that might be able to help you with that, but he's really busy right now. Well, basically, you know, you have you saying stuff and also show him the comics so he can show it in the background and also the videos. Or, you know, the trailer.
Okay, but the issue is, like, all of the good stuff in 2006 and 2007 happens in the books.
Yeah, but you can just, like, go do a slow panel of the comics. Like, have them slowly slide over while you're talking about them.
I floof.
Anyway, thank you all so much, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.